What's up, my friends? Welcome to another fun Thursday's Chaos Live. We're going to hang out with you guys, answer your questions inside the chat for about an hour. We'll hang out, answer anything you got. So just leave your questions inside the chat. I don't go in order because it would take forever if I did that. So I do jump around a lot, all right? So be aware of that. If I don't get to your question, you can try asking a little bit later, right? Don't spam the chat. But you can always hit me up on Instagram, right? ThatChrisChaos. Got some links down in the description. It shows it displayed down here on the screen. So hit me up online on social media, and you can always ask me questions there if I don't answer it inside of here. So we got some awesome people that were here first into the stream, some of the awesome notification platoon individuals. We got Noah, RSS Alarms, T-Dog, Frank, King, Anakin. We got Evie. We got, who else? Give Me $5. Dizzy, Hector, Holy Hand Grenade, Nate P, Jennifer Jones, Doug the Eliminator, one of our awesome Chaos Commanders. Thanks, man. Scotty, Carissa, Josh, Benjamin, WW, David. That's the main ones that were pretty close to the front, at least, of the line. They got here very, very quick. So thank you guys. You guys are awesome. What questions do you have on this Thursday for us to hang out? We got Jetbird. What's happening, Jetbird? How's it going? I did see, of course, it wouldn't be Chaos Live without Benjamin Park asking some kind of crazy, strange question that apparently he's serious about. Asking if his wife can do porn while he's in the army. Is that really how we're starting off this live stream? Is that really how we're going to start off this live stream? Sure, she probably could. If you did anything with her or was involved in it in the video, even if you can't see her face, you would probably get in trouble. There is no restrictions for a spouse to prevent them from being able to do whatever the hell they really want to do. But if you have involvement with it, then yes, you can get in trouble for that kind of a thing. But just be aware, if people find out your wife does that kind of thing on the internet, you're going to get a lot of crap for that. And your military career is going to be pretty rough. So while it's not against the rules for you, you're going to have a rough Army career, guy. I can already tell with the crazy questions you ask. All right, what else do we have that's not related to can my wife do porn in the United States Army? 101st live stream, 101st Screaming Eagles. Always love the intro. It's a good intro. I love the intro too. It's good. Do I get BAH if I'm at basic and married? You do. You just do not get BAS. So your BAS will have to wait until after you're done. See, that's more of a legitimate question there, Benjamin. But you do still get BAH while you're in basic training. I'm trying to become a flight warrant. I've passed the SIFT and the flight physical. What's my next step? I could not tell you. I don't know what the process is for flight warrant officers or anything related to warrant officers because I was enlisted, so yeah, I don't really have any kind of thing that I can help you with on that. I have arrived. Well, thanks, BGS or VGMR. Great video about Army misconceptions. Thanks, Doug. Appreciate that. Can I dip in the military if I'm 18? Sure, you can do that. There's a lot of people that dip. There's going to be like just restrictions with certain things. Like technically you're not supposed to dip while you're in like a government facility. A lot of people still do it anyways, and they have like a spit bottle or whatever. So sure, you can. There's nothing really against the rules. You're allowed to do that. There's just sometimes restrictions as far as when you don't do it in formation. Like if you're in formation, doing just for regular, some kind of accountability formation, whatever, and definitely not during physical training, right? But outside of that, right, you're working in the motor pool or whatever like that, sure, you're usually free to do that. I'm on CQ right now, shipping to Germany next week. Do you know anything about that place? Awesome, Ben. I've never been there as being stationed there. I've been there as a tourist, and I've passed through Germany, but being stationed there, I don't. If you're just doing a deployment there, then it's a little bit different. If you're getting reassigned, like PCS in there, to another unit, a lot of people love Germany because usually if you have like a passport, you can, put in a 4-day pass and go to all these cool places very easily and get to see some really cool sites. So everybody I've ever known, they love the hell out of Germany. Your units are really going to vary, so you may or may not love your unit, but being there and like experiencing some of the stuff of Europe, I've heard is really cool and a lot of fun. A lot of people enjoy that kind of stuff. Thinking about enlisting the Army next week, infantry maybe. Well, good luck to you then. So we got Chris. Do you think about the Army misconceptions that every soldier is an expert combative and can disarm anyone like the movies? I've heard that before. People think that I can like teach them cool martial arts or cool like self-defense tactics or whatever. And I mean, I might know a few things from doing combatives, but like when I was fresh out of basic training and stuff like that, there was people that was asking me like, oh, how do you do this? How do you do that? Can you, kick everybody's ass and teach me some cool shit and stuff like that? And I was like, no, not really. I mean, I'm in good shape, I guess, but I mean, I really don't know anything that special for stuff. So yeah, I mean, I hear that too. People think that you're just going to be this hardcore awesome person, and unless you've done the high-speed training, like some cool special forces training or some kind of other high-speed stuff, then just the average soldier is probably not amazing at stuff. Is there a weight limit in the Army or limit for the Army? There is, of course. Yeah, if you look it up, it's easy to find. It's based on your height and your age. So you have to look up the height and weight standards for the U.S. Army, and it goes off your height and your age bracket to determine what your max weight is. And if you're over that weight, but it's because you're muscular, then you have to get taped, where you have to measure your neck and your chest and your waist and stuff like that to see if your body fat is over. What is life at AIT like? It really depends on the length of your AIT. A lot of times the AIT schools that are longer get a little bit more kind of leniency as they move throughout the course, whereas your shorter AITs kind of stay fairly strict for the most part, and then only have a few things here and there that get lenient. But it's not as strict as basic training, but you still are stuck in these barracks, stuck in uniform all the time. Maybe after a few weeks you might start getting weekends off, maybe, depending on your leadership. But usually that doesn't mean that you are just free to do whatever. Usually they have like a confinement area, so maybe you're allowed to go to the PX, or you're allowed to go to the shop at nearby, or you're just allowed to hang out in the barracks or whatever. But it doesn't necessarily mean that you can just go freely about the town and go clubbing and do all that kind of stuff. So they usually have some different restrictions. So you usually have to wait for your full-on freedom until you're done with all of your initial training. 88 Mike, risk hit by IEDs on deployment outside the wire. Of course, yeah, it's a very, very risky thing. So that's always a sketchy thing for 88 Mikes. You're on the road a lot. There's a lot of people that are on the road a lot too. I mean, you even have your like engineers and MPs and people doing like convoy security and route clearance and everything like that. So any really job that involves you being out of the wire a lot, that has to travel often, is really at risk for IEDs and stuff like that in certain areas, right? For like Iraq or Afghanistan and stuff. So definitely a sketchy kind of thing in those situations. Swearing tomorrow, awesome. Was it Death Cube? Good deal. Good luck to you, man. I think I skipped down way too far. Okay, my husband is thinking about going back in after being out since 2016. Will have to go back to basic, or does he just go to AIT? 2016, yeah, probably. Typically, I mean, there's sometimes exceptions. It just depends, but most commonly, anybody who's been out of the Army or military even for more than 3 years, usually they make them go back through AIT, or back through basic training, sorry. But I mean, you can sometimes talk to the recruiter, and there might be some special cases here and there, but as a safe ruling, you can hope for the best, but if you've been out for more than 3 years, yeah, you're probably stuck going back through basic training again. So any update on the COVID and basic training thing? The last things I've heard is just that, like, when you show up, your reception is longer, so you're stuck in the reception longer, so they can monitor you to see if you start to exhibit any symptoms and everything like that, and then you're kind of quarantined in a way. And then when you actually start basic training, It's a little bit different because people are having to keep their distance. They're not really doing a lot of cadences because they don't want people sounding off and breathing on each other. A lot of the physical activities are spread out, and a lot of other activities are spread out. So there's just a lot of those things. Currently, I think they're still doing online, like live streaming the graduations. Nobody's really allowed to attend them, and I think they're still just doing that way. So yeah, that's a lot of the stuff I've been hearing from a lot of people that have been telling me, like maybe hitting me up, through Instagram or whatever, to tell me what their experiences have been like. Still loving the computer, of course. Computer is awesome. How much did your computer cost? Oh, you sure you want to know that, Frank? This high-speed computer was $4,000. So it's $4,000 to have this thing built, but it was worth it. I was tired of building a badass computer, or what I was always think was a badass computer, and then after a year or two, it kind of starting to act like crap or whatever, or not being able to handle the tasks I wanted to do. This one, better for the price and the extreme measures I went through to make it pretty solid. Better last a long time. There's this thing for any of you nerdy kind of people, maybe like somewhat like me, maybe in a way. I don't know if this is maybe above my level too, but after we built it, the guy who kind of helped me build it, or he did pretty much all the building, I was really just kind of supervising, but we did the benchmarks and everything on it through the website, and it came up there like on the top of the list. So it came up there pretty freaking high on the list. I don't think it was like number 1 or anything like that, but I mean, it was in the high, like top 10%, 5% of like users or something like that. When you're on a combat deployment, do you have to lock up your guns when not on mission or in the field? No, you're carrying that thing with you all the time. That sucks. Everywhere you go, if you're on a combat deployment, that weapon goes with you everywhere. It goes to the shower with you. Sometimes people have people watch your weapon, but technically they usually wanted you to still take it with you. You don't take it in the shower, but usually maybe you have it off to the side. But that also sometimes depends on where the showers are located at. Sometimes you would leave it with a battle buddy while you go shower, and sometimes you take it with you. If you went to the bathroom, it went with you. You went to the chow hall, it went with you. You went to the motor pool, you went with you. You went to the PX, it goes with you. It goes with you everywhere. So if you're on a combat deployment, even in the field, it goes with you everywhere. It's kind of a weird thing too, because for people who have deployed before, you may have this experience, right? But you go and you're so used to having that weapon with you, and then when you come back from that deployment, after you've been on that deployment for a year or more than a year, you're so used to having that weapon with you that you kind of start getting like panicky, because you're so used to it being there. You're like, oh crap, where's my weapon? You're like, oh yeah, that's right, we turned it in. I know I definitely had that for like a little while afterwards, especially you're out to eat or you're out doing something or whatever, and you're like, you get that little, just for a split second moment of like, oh shit, where's my weapon at? Because you don't want to lose it definitely in a combat zone or anytime anyways. Best diet to get ready for basic training? I'm not really good with like dietary stuff. As far as workout stuff, I usually recommend a lot of cardio, but dietary stuff, I don't have really good advice for you on that. Hey Chris, I'm in the Navy, but I love your videos. Have you worked with any other services? What could a sailor do to work with the Army? I have never worked with anybody Navy, so I couldn't tell you how that goes. The only branch I've ever worked with was Marines. People have always given flack because I did that thing in the video where someone was asking who the Army works with the most, and in that video I felt like Marines was the most, because anytime I've ever done anything, worked with the Marines. And some people have even said that airborne, right, that you work with the Air Force, but you're really just riding their planes. Did you actually do any work with them, or did you actually do anything alongside them other than riding their planes? Where I have done stuff with Marines, and I've done training with Marines and everything like that. So Marines is always the really common one I've ever worked with, but that's the only branch I've really done anything with. The only thing I've ever done with Air Force is ridden on their planes before. That's it. 50% of the Army dips? Probably. There's usually quite a few people you'll see that develop a dipping habit because they get bored or whatever the case might be. Do you know anyone who joined the Army National Guard or Army Reserves after completing a 4-year contract in the Marine Corps to complete the rest of their 8-year contract? Sure. There's a lot of people I knew, not necessarily the Guard, but I've known a lot of people that went from the Marines active duty to Army active duty just because they had such a hard time getting promoted in the Marines. Plus, they didn't get to pick what they wanted to do in the Marines, and maybe they didn't enjoy what they were doing in the Marines. So I've known a lot of people that have transferred from the Marines to the Army. A few people that did Air Force to the Army. I don't think I knew anybody that did Navy to the Army. Maybe like 1 or 2 people I think maybe I ran into. But most of the people that I knew that were prior service were Marines that came to the Army, mainly because it was easier to get promoted in the Army. Plus, they could pick their MOS and their job they wanted to do because maybe they didn't like doing the job that they were doing in the Marines. So, how long would it take to make E6 if no degree, if circumstances are ideal? So if they're ideal circumstances, you have no education or anything like that, maybe 4 years, 5 years, depending on your MOS. It really depends, right? You could probably do that, but based on your MOS for E6, it's really going to vary, right? Because when you get to E5 and E6, those ones require going to the board. Those ones require points promotions to get promoted in that. So if that MOS has high point standards, then you have to have a degree to practically get promoted. Otherwise, you don't have enough points to get promoted. So if they're really desperate for people in E6 and E5, then you probably could move up in the ranks probably pretty quick, maybe like within 6 years or 7 years or something like that. Especially like 11 Bravos usually have it a lot easier because points are usually pretty low for 11 Bravo for promotion points. And so I've known people that were 11 Bravos that were only in for like 4, 5, 6 years or whatever and made it to a staff sergeant. Awesome channel. Actually wondering while mowing the lawn, when is Chris going live? But I'm going as an 88 mic, leaving next month for basic training. But can you rank up fast as an 88 mic? E134 is the same for everybody. Currently, I think the points are low for E5 and E6, I think, for 88 mic right now, but that changes. So, I mean, that may not be necessarily the case when you're eligible for that. But E1 through E4, it doesn't matter what your MOS is. That's usually based on your performance, your leadership, what you're doing, those kind of things that determine, you know, how fast you're able to move up through the ranks, not necessarily the MOS. Is it easy to get 68 whiskey as enlisting? I think it's a pretty high in demand MOS, so it might be a little bit difficult. So sometimes the available slots are limited, but that can vary as well. But I've heard from a lot of people that, you know, it's a little bit challenging to get that MOS because it's a pretty high in demand MOS that a lot of people want. Chris, when I was the command rest allowed, when I was in the command rest allowed cigarettes to be smoked, but never saw anyone do this while in formation. Yeah, it's never done in formation. Only 9 likes. I don't know. I see 44 likes currently, or no, 16. Sorry, that was the viewers for currently. 16 likes. All right. Because these live streams don't even stay on the channel, they go unlisted after the live stream's over. How many likes it gets really doesn't matter. It's more relevant for like a video that stays on the channel to determine for the algorithm to recommend it and stuff. So how many likes the live streams get really doesn't really matter. Do you have live ammo all the time on a combat deployment? You do, yeah. So you have usually your combat load inside your vest, and then most commonly with the deployments, they usually want you to carry around 1 magazine. You don't have it like in the weapon, like if you're just wandering around the fob and doing stuff on fob, but you had to carry around a magazine. So you usually had it inside one of your pockets or however you wanted to kind of carry around that magazine, but you were supposed to carry at least 1 magazine on you with live ammunition. So that way if something went down, you'd at least have that 1 magazine to be able to throw into your weapon if you needed to. What happens if you join the Marines and then re-enlist in the Army? Well, I mean, it's fine. You get to keep your rank, you can transfer over. And then depending on if there's no gap in service, then they may still send you through AIT, especially if you're changing MOSs. They're definitely going to send you through AIT, but you don't have to do basic training or anything unless there's a gap in between your service. If you had an Air Force defect, was it swank? What the hell's swank, man? Is that some new term I'm not aware of? Yeah, I'd imagine Air Force is pretty good. I've heard from a lot of people that Air Force is a good chow hall. In Korea, we had one of our Katusas dip. You didn't like it? Yeah, I can imagine. That's probably not a very common culture over there in Korea. It's more of a American kind of a thing. And probably a few other countries too, but definitely that's not a very common thing that you would see Korean people doing. Can you please watch and review the movie The Outpost? I don't think I've ever even heard of that movie. You know, maybe if I try to remember it, maybe possibly. I don't even think I've heard of that movie. My computer seems to have a little trouble running Modern Warfare. Oh man, I don't remember what you said your spec stuff was. What you have for RAM and CPU and graphics card. So I mean, it depends on your graphics card. I haven't tried running Modern Warfare on my computer because I play it on the PlayStation. So I might try doing Tarkov. It's a pretty popular one that people are playing on Twitch, and I might start doing some Tarkov stuff on Twitch if I download that and get that game installed and see how well that performs on the computer. It should do amazingly, but I really haven't tested any gaming yet with this computer because I mainly had it really spec'd out really high for making video editing run much smoother. During basic training, we were eating MREs and CTA, and our weapons were laid out. Drill sergeant came out of the office and grabbed my rifle. I got smoked for 2 hours to get it back. That sucks. Is there a painting MOS? No. What would you need an MOS for painting? There is sometimes people get, units find out that someone's a good artist or a good drawer or painter or whatever, and you get tasked to do something like go and paint some stuff on a wall or a mural or whatever for the unit, but it's not really like an MOS that does that. What is PT like in COVID? A lot of bases, it depends on their kind of leadership and how their kind of guidance comes from their post commander. I know like Fort Carson, they have it where it's just squad PT, I think right now still, I believe. So they break off and they don't do large formations, they just do squads. And so squads are going off and doing PT with their squad leaders, and they do it like that. Certain other posts are back to doing, I think, platoon PT, but no company PT. So things like that are usually just smaller groups, and they just kind of keep their distance. I've seen a lot of people, I don't know why, I don't know if it's a requirement or not. Well, I haven't seen everybody doing it, so I don't think it's a requirement, but I've seen some people on Fort Carson in the morning during PT wearing a mask. Now imagine that would suck really bad, trying to wear a mask while doing PT. But I saw a couple people doing that like this morning and a couple of days ago as well. During basic training, I already read that one. Anything information about 88 kilo MOS? I don't know anything about 88 kilo. Do you have to get your bachelor's degree to commission? Yes, you have. It's a requirement for an officer to have a 4-year degree, so you'll have to have a bachelor's degree to become an officer. Hey Chris, I recently got Warzone and I'm looking forward to being a part of your team. Well, awesome, man. I don't really play Warzone necessarily. There is a mode under Warzone that I like to do sometimes that like anybody can join in on, even if you don't have the paid version of Call of Duty, and that's the Warzone, what is it called? Rumble, right? Warzone Rumble, and that's part of Warzone, so that's kind of free to play. And sometimes I'll do that, and that's fun to do. But if I do the multiplayer stuff like team deathmatch and anything like that, or the customs when we go to do the determine the Modern Warfare champion, that one is part of the paid one, so you have to have the actual paid version of Modern Warfare. But I don't really do Warzone mainly because I don't like the armor system, so it takes like a full magazine to kill somebody unless you get them in a headshot. So I prefer not to play Warzone, mainly because of that. If they come out with a mode of Warzone that doesn't include the armor system or something like that, then maybe I might be more into it. But currently, it just takes too many damn shots to kill somebody. That drives me nuts, and I'm not the greatest. So I need all the advantage I can. And if it's gonna take me more shots to kill somebody, that's more time for them to kill me before I can kill them. So that's usually screws me over. Have you seen the Funker 530 video of Taliban attack and the soldiers kept barbecuing? I did not. Do you have soldiers with gambling problem or who honorably, financially, and what are you talking about? I don't think I ever had anybody that, I don't remember if I had anybody that had gambling problems. I knew some people that gambled, but I don't know if I had anybody that had like a gambling problem. What was it? Were you stationed at, was it, I have no idea what that is. Or do you know someone who was stationed there? I don't even know what that place is, so I couldn't even tell you. A friend of mine decided to try to dip in formation, and the first sergeant calling him to lead PT, so he tried to hide the dip by swallowing it. Poor guy. Yeah, that would suck. That would probably make you pretty sick. I never dipped. I was never into that kind of stuff. I never smoked, I never dipped or whatever, but I knew quite a few people that would get into that. Tarkov should run well. I would imagine it would. So, Holy Hand Grenade, I got 16 gigs of RAM and my graphics card is a 1060 GTX. I don't know what the CPU is. 16 gigs of RAM. I don't know, man. I guess it depends on the... I mean, that sounds pretty low. So that might be a little bit of the problem. The 1060 should be fine. So the graphics card should be fine for running Call of Duty. You might have to lower some of the settings a little bit, right? You probably can't run the settings at full graphic settings probably with the 1060. But the 16 gigs of RAM might limit you, and then I guess depending on what your processor is, the processor can be possibly part of the problem where it might not be fast enough. So probably lowering some of your settings might help it run better. So you might have to try to do that in Call of Duty. I just saw a class return from Cold Range. They were all limping, every single one of them. That sucks. Have you played YouTuber's Life? OMG. What the hell's YouTuber's Life? Is that a game? I don't know what you're talking about. We had a painting MOS, called it a 92 detail. Possible. I knew, like I said, I knew a few people that were pretty good artists. They would get some kind of like a detail to go paint a rock or paint a mural or paint something on a wall. Do you think it's because there's programs running in the background that I don't know about that's taking up most of the CPU? I don't think so. I mean, you could try doing the Control-Alt-Delete and then do the device manager and then kind of see how much just in the background stuff is running and then how much of that is being used when you're playing Call of Duty, but it could just be your settings. If you go in there, I think actually it'll tell you what kind of CPU you have. If you go into the device manager, I think that tells you. And I forget where else. I think you can get it from the properties of my computer to find out what CPU you've got. So, Chris used the Odin in Warzone. I like the M4. M4 is fun. But like I said, I've only played Warzone a few times. I'm not a big fan. Ground War. Evie loves Ground War. I don't like Ground War. Ground War just has, I mean, already Warzone Rumble has a crap ton of snipers, but Ground War like has even more snipers. And they can just sit there and watch an objective, where at least in Rumble you can run around and it's a little bit harder for them to watch you because they can't necessarily just watch the flag like they can in Warzone, kind of a thing. Did you attend Army specialty schools? Any advice for E3 applying to one? I did not go to any specialty schools really, other than like NCO academies and stuff, the leadership schools. But for like if you're trying to go airborne, air assault, sapper, pathfinder, one of those kind of things, just mainly make sure you're in good shape. That way you'll be good to go. Otherwise, if you're in poor shape, then you're gonna probably struggle through it. So it's a place in Africa. I don't think I've ever heard of it. So I don't think I would know anybody stationed there. Can I have black and orange knife in the military or black and blue? What does artillery do in a war zone like Iraq or Afghanistan? That's two questions, man. I mean, I guess you can have whatever color knife you really want to. If you have it like just in your pocket, you don't really have them exposed anyways, unless you put it on your vest or something like that. But otherwise, yeah, that should be a problem really. And then what does artillery do? Well, they're probably manning a gun line somewheres and waiting for call for fire missions, things like that. I watched your first YouTube video today under attack in Iraq. That was my first YouTube video for this channel, not my first ever YouTube channel or YouTube video. But I mean, bonus points if you can find my very first ever YouTube video. That'd be very hard. It is actually Army related. But the under attack video was just the first one I did on this channel. I used to have a different channel that I was trying to do for a video production thing where I was going to try to start a video production. Maybe I should make that a competition. I don't know. Make it a competition. Who can find my very first ever YouTube video that's still on YouTube, just on a different channel? Maybe you can win a Chaos hat. I'll have to think about that. That'd be kind of fun. See if anybody can find it. I feel like it would take a long time for someone to find it because they'd have to do probably a lot of research to try to figure out what that channel would be, and then try to find that channel, and then try to find the first video on that channel. It'd probably be a difficult one. I don't know. Maybe that could be a possibility thing. If someone hits me up and says, hey, I found it, is this it? Maybe you can win a Chaos hat. I don't know. What's the highest ranking person you saw dip? By Sergeant Major. I don't know if not a lot of officers do. If they do, they're usually lower officers, like lieutenants, maybe a captain or something like that. Actually, I think I knew a major that I think dipped. Not much past that on the officer side, but on the enlisted side, Sergeant Major. There's a couple Sergeant Majors I've seen. Like which setting? I don't know too well. Like somewhere in the Call of Duty settings, there should be some graphic settings that you can probably lower. So I don't do any of that for PlayStation because I don't really need to or anything like that. But on the PC, I would imagine inside of your settings for Call of Duty, there should be like some graphic settings to lower the details and lower some of the graphics and so that stuff like that. Do not have it maxed out because that could be your problem. Rich subscribed. Appreciate that, I guess, if you're here. Chris, how do you jog and keep the mosquitoes off you? I mean, wear mosquito repellent, I guess. Otherwise, you just have to deal with it, I guess. You recommend enlisting or going in as officer? Personal preference, really. It kind of depends on if you want to make the big bucks, then you probably should go officer. If you want to get your hands dirty and actually do a lot of the main hands-on work, then that's usually the enlisted side that you kind of want to do that. Yes, YouTubers like OMG is a game. It's a game? What are you talking about? It's a game. There's a game called YouTubers? What's happening? Truth is everywhere. Sound like you need you have like a conspiracy YouTube channel kind of a thing. I'm going backwards a little bit because I actually accidentally skipped down too far. Hey Chris, which MOS that's popular has more schools to earn patches like airborne or navigation, for example? Commonly, people that get priority on some of those schools, a lot of times like your 11 Bravos for like airborne and stuff. Maybe your engineers for like sapper school, those kind of things. So those are some of your common ones. What's happening, Junior Drizzy? Yo, please help on or off post housing for Fort Campbell. I've never been to Fort Campbell, so I could not tell you. A lot of people just prefer, in general, off post housing just because they don't want to have to deal with the rules of on post housing. You have the on post housing people that are pretty strict on certain things, right? You have to really keep up with your yard, and you know, technically you could be susceptible to an inspection, right? Kind of a thing. And if you live off base, you don't have to worry about that kind of stuff. So most people that I know in general, no matter where you're stationed at, usually prefer off-post housing anyways. The Outpost starring Clint Eastwood. I don't think I've ever heard of it. All right, coming back down a little bit. What's the most you ever ran in PT? I've heard from guys in the 82nd Airborne that they ran 7 miles a day on a regular basis. When I was stationed in Korea, sometimes we run like 6 or 7 miles occasionally here and there. That's usually the common one for running. You know, I did road marches that were longer, like 12-mile road marches and stuff. But as far as going for a run, yeah, probably like 6 or 7 miles was probably more of them. You know, most of the runs are usually around like 3 or 4 miles, but there was a few that was longer, which I didn't mind long distance running. It was just fast ones I couldn't do very well. Oh, Carissa. Can you sleep with your recruiter asking for her friend? Sure, why not? Sure, I'm sure you'd probably get in trouble for that. That's probably the recruiter would get in trouble for that. I know that Carissa knows the correct answer for that, right? Past soldier of mine, past team leader of mine, right, that I had in my squad. So she knows the answer. But for those of you that may see that question and want to know the answer to that, the person may not get in trouble, but that recruiter is definitely getting in trouble for doing something like that. VGMR, Miss Corell, thanks for the super chat. What's with all the dip questions? I don't know. People are just maybe really curious about dip. I don't know. It's a popular thing in the Army. I definitely knew a lot of people that did that. So I don't know what it is about the Army that makes people want to dip, right? I think Carissa dips all the time, right? Don't you, Carissa? Right, dipping right now while playing Apex Legends on the side right now. Is it very competitive to get into West Point? Oh yeah, big time. I mean, you got to have really good scores. You got to have someone from the government, like a congressman or a senator or somebody else, write a good recommendation for you to even get into West Point, right? So yeah, it's extremely difficult. It's basically the military equivalent of trying to get into like Harvard or something like that. Now you got me trying to find that video. Hey, you can find that video. Not a guarantee right now, so I'm not officially saying that you can win a Chaos hat, but I might think about it. If someone messages me like on Instagram, we'll make that the official place to go to, and says, you know, they can tell me, you can shoot me the link, I guess, or whatever, via Instagram through messaging if you find my very, very first YouTube video ever. But like I said, it's not on this channel. So if you're trying to find it on this channel, it's not on this channel. And it's from like 2006, I think, or 2007. So that's a little bit of a hint too, right? It's not on this channel. It's Army related. And it was from, I think, 2006 or 2007. I mean, they always say they should have been a leg to go in a different duty station, airborne units, or airborne limits you for places. I mean, yeah, you're kind of limited to airborne units sometimes, but if you're airborne, that doesn't mean you're only stuck to airborne units, because I had quite a few people that I knew they were airborne, and then they left an airborne unit and went to a regular unit that was not airborne. So I've known those before too. I can barely do 1 mile, then if you're planning on joining the Army anytime soon, you're gonna have to work on that for sure. Running 67 miles, good gosh, I'm legitimately more scared of that than the enemy. It's not bad. Like, if you're conditioned well enough, you know, that's not too bad. You know, usually fairly slowish paced. Not often are they fast-paced runs. They're usually kind of a good kind of jog kind of a pace though. But still, you have to finish that in under an hour, right? Because you're doing physical fitness for an hour. Some people do it for an hour and a half, right? So, you know, it has to be a good enough pace to probably finish it in that amount of time. But yeah, I mean, it wasn't a super common thing. The most common runs were usually like about 3 or 4 miles, but there was occasionally here and there where it'd be like 6 or 7 miles. Can you choose sunflower seeds instead of dipping? Yeah, if you want to. I mean, with those, I mean, definitely you don't want to just spit your sunflower seeds out on the ground. I'm weird. I like sunflower seeds, but I eat the shells and all. That's not very healthy for you. I think they don't even recommend that, but I'll eat the shell and all with sunflower seeds. So I usually do the whole thing. What else we got? Scrolling down a little bit, moving past some stuff. I'll leave for basic in a month. Should I sell my current car and buy a cheap 5,000 or less car when I get to my first duty station after OSIT, or is that not wise? I guess that depends. I mean, if your current car is great and reliable, I would keep that current car. If your current car is a beater and you're worried about it breaking down or not being able to make the drive to take it to where you're going to, you can also choose to have it transported if you wish to do so too. But you know, if you are worried that it's not in good enough condition for that, then sell it and maybe wait till you get settled into your new duty station and see how things are like and see if you want to buy a new car, right? But if that car is pretty reliable, I'd hang on to it and I would just keep that one. Especially if, you know, you go and you know, get to a duty station where you need a car to get to places, all that kind of stuff. So video made by a soldier. What's that one? What's happening, Caliber? I see you said hi to Evie, but what's up? Can't say hi to me. Confident about running 3 miles in an hour? Yeah, I mean, 3 hours isn't bad. How do you quit junk food to be healthier and fitter? I mean, that's really on you, right? Maybe slow down on the junk food and then eventually eliminate it completely. But I mean, really that comes down to your discipline and what you can do, I guess. Rank when I left the Army, I was a sergeant. I was actually technically, if you want to be really specific about it, I was an E5 promotable. But specifically, I was a sergeant. I got a friend who eats peanuts whole with the shells and all. That one sounds a little bit weirder. I don't know. I feel like it does anyways. But like with sunflower seeds, the shell's got some good flavor to it. It's really salted, right? So I like the, it's not bad. I would imagine it'd be kind of weird with peanuts, but I can see that maybe being a possibility. Sure. Difference between airborne and air assault school. Airborne deals with jumping out of planes. Air assault deals a little bit with rappelling out of planes, but also how to have cargo airlifted by a plane to be able to have them sling loaded. Evie says it's a lot of fiber, eating the shell and all. Tastes good though. Do lots of women get sexually assaulted? Statistics are high, but what's your opinion? I don't think so. In all of my common experience, I didn't really see it as a really high thing. Sure, it happens. I would imagine it depends on the unit, the location, the people that are there, that maybe determines if it's a higher risk thing or whatever compared to other places. But all the places I ever was, no, I never saw that kind of a thing as being a high, statistic type of thing. Chris, don't worry, I'm here, but I already knew you were here, Anakin. You were here at the beginning, right? What's the shortest contract in the Army? In some cases, you can get a 2-year contract, but the 2 years doesn't usually start until after AIT. But those are pretty hard to get. Steve says he ran 2 miles in 14 minutes in 1983. It's good. It's a good run time. Pretty fast. My unit had a runner's thing, 3 to 4 mile runs with an optional 10 to 12 with a reward of not coming in until after lunch. That's a good deal. But you had to run all 12 miles. Yeah, that'd be a rough long run. Knew a girl at AIT who managed to get a 181-day contract. That'd be really short. Just loaded up on darn tough socks for OCS. Any recommendations for underwear, briefs? You're probably going to get issued the Army ones. Now, if you're through OCS, you're going to probably issue the Army ones. I don't know what the current Army ones are now. Like when I went through the Army ones, they were these brown, I think they were, or like a dark green or something like that, like tidy whitey style kind of underwear, right? I don't know if they currently issue the soldiers though. And you're kind of stuck with those though for the most part. Were deployments scary? Sure, a little bit scary here and there. Can you attend both air assault and airborne, or only one through your career? No, you can do both. I mean, you wouldn't be able to get both of them in your contract, and you actually can't. I don't think you can get air assault in your contract, but yeah, you could do both. I've known people that had both airborne and air assault, so you could possibly do that. It's just a matter of availability and if they are willing to send you or not. I want to go in 31 Bravo. Any tips to getting a good score in the ASVAB? Study. Just make sure you study. A lot of people will try to focus on just the section that they need to score high in for that MOS, and then they end up, bombing it, and then, not leaving them open to other opportunities if they want to. So I would just say study everything. Try to do the best. A lot of people recommend the ASVAB for Dummies book. You can get it on Amazon. You can get it from Barnes & Noble. You get it online, whatever the case is. But a lot of people say they love that book, and that one was really helpful to them for studying for the ASVAB. So just study real hard, take some practice tests and everything. See Noah's taking some guesses and everything like that. I don't know if you messaged me on Instagram, but I won't reveal it in the live stream if you guess it correctly or not correctly in the live stream. I'll look to see, if you message me on Instagram, because if someone else messaged me on Instagram during this live stream and they had the correct answer, then I don't know, maybe I might think about sending them a hat. I don't know. We'll kind of see. Hi, Chris. I've been in America for 2 months. My English is very limited. What should I do before I join the U.S. Army? Well, make sure you at least have a green card. I don't know if you're probably here on a green card anyways, right? If you're in the U.S. I would definitely work on your English, because that is going to be a part of the ASVAB. So if you can't understand English very well, then it's going to probably cause you to score pretty low on the ASVAB, because you also have to be able to have that comprehension of English. So I would say work on that. Make sure you're in good shape. And study for the ASVAB. So definitely work on your English and study for the ASVAB and make sure you're in good shape. Were you nervous when going into your first combat deployment? Yeah, definitely. You got a little bit more comfortable once you got there, I guess, and settled down a little bit, right? That really just depends on the deployment, though. My deployments weren't, as far as, combat-related things go, wasn't too horrible or anything like that, so that helped. But some people might have a lot different of an experience on a combat deployment that may change their mind. I mean, it still sucked. Like, I'm not saying that I had fun on a combat deployment. It sucked being there. But I probably didn't have it as bad as some people definitely did. Saw an upside down flag, U.S. flag, while jogging in a nearby neighborhood of mine recently. After asking a neighbor, he's a Vietnam vet who had Alzheimer's, and he is likely on the verge of death. Wow, that's pretty crazy. Have you earned or were offered a challenge coin for doing very stupid at point? And if so, what was it? Thank you. No. All of my challenge coins that I have, like, I've got them all back there-ish. Hard to see, but they're right about there. On a little plaque kind of a thing, right? I got all my coins lined up there. There's quite a few there, but they're all for doing something. Like, I think the easiest one I received was for winning a talent contest. We did a band, Battle of the Bands kind of a thing. Or it was actually a talent show, and we played as a band in Korea, and we won the talent show. And so me and the 3 other guys that were in the band got a coin from our commander for winning the talent show. And then all the other ones are for things like deployments or field problems or graduating from an NCO academy or just different little things like that. None of them are really anything crazy that I remember. No. They're all pretty much for something legitimate, field problem, deployment, something along those lines. Becoming a dentist in the Army, awesome, good luck to you. I don't have Insta. Did I get it right? I don't know, let me see if anybody else tried guessing on Instagram. If you're on Instagram, then I can't get your address, so I wouldn't be able to send you a hat anyways then, if that's the case. So you wouldn't be able to win then, I guess. I don't think anybody guessing it. But, I don't know. Are you right, Noah? You feel pretty confident about that? About that answer? Where'd you find the answer? How'd you find that answer? How did you find out that that video from Chaos Productions, A Soldier Story from Iraq? How'd you even find it? Curious. But yes, that is my very first YouTube video. But I didn't guarantee that you'd win a hat. You don't even have Instagram, so I can't even get your address from you. Because don't post your address in here. It'd be a horrible idea. Did you have a security clearance, Chris? I have to go through the, is it SSBI for my MOS? I did, and I actually still do. So yes, I had a security clearance because of where I was at in Korea. So I kept my security clearance, and then my current civilian job requires me to have a security clearance. So I still have a secret clearance. But that packet is horrible to fill out. There's so much information they want to know about so much, so that's a big time pain in the ass to get that information. Yeah, that's a challenge. And then you have to do the interview thing with like some agent, so it's a pain. I got a flag from Colonel Steele. You got a flag from Colonel Steele? Like he just gave you an American flag? Or like one of the Velcro ones on the uniform? Or an actual legit flag? I might have a coin. I know I have awards. I'm not sure if I have a coin, but I have awards definitely from Colonel McMasters, H.R. McMasters, who was the military advisor for the president, for President Trump, and then he got fired or released or whatever. I don't know what the whole politics was that, but he was for a little while that upper military advisor for Trump and everything like that. And I have some awards I know for sure from H.R. McMasters. know if I have anybody else like big that I have stuff from. If I want to go into cybersecurity, is it best to go into the Air Force or the Army as good? So I don't know for 100% sure, but I feel like you would get better opportunities with the Air Force. But I think the problem would be is that you can't really guarantee that you're going to get that job in the Air Force. But you can, like if you qualify for it and meet the requirements for it, guarantee to get that in the Army. So that is kind of a tough one. If you can get it in the Air Force, I kind of feel like you might get better training with the Air Force in it, maybe, but I don't know 100% for sure. But you probably have a better chance of getting it in the Army. So that makes sense. Is there a guy in the Army who's super good looking and sleeps with a lot of girls in the Army? Does those type of guys exist in the Army? Sure. I mean, that can exist anywhere. I would imagine so. Sure. It's not any different than in the civilian world. Sure. Why not? On your wiki, it says Chaos Productions. Do I have a wiki? I don't have a wiki. Do I have a wiki? Did someone make a Wikipedia? I don't think there's a Wikipedia on me. No Wikipedia on me. If so, that's pretty amazing. I mean, it comes up as a recommendation when you type in my name, so that's kind of cool. Where on earth did you see a Christopher Chaos Wikipedia, though? I'd be really curious to read that. See what's on there. Somebody actually have that? Send me a message. Let me know that you sent me a message if you have a link to a Christopher Chaos Wikipedia. Because when I do a Google search for Christopher Chaos Wiki, I don't get anything. I get Christopher Langton Wikipedia. Where on earth did you get it from a Wikipedia about me? I'm very curious now. You got my curiosity here, man. What did your wife do while you were in the Army? Work? I don't know what you're specifically looking for. And the channel says that it was your first channel. I have Discord. That's right. I think it is in my... Maybe I have that in my Discord somewhere. For like an informational thing, don't I? Possibly. I don't remember. Is that in there somewhere for like a command where it gives you more information about my channel? I don't remember. But I'm still curious if there was a Wikipedia page. Like you're not allowed to write a Wikipedia page about yourself, and I think in order to even have technically a Wikipedia page, I think you're supposed to have like an article about yourself that someone put out there. You got a super chat? Hang on, I gotta try to get the screen back up. There we go. I was looking for something else. Tigers that kill. Beware. It's a interesting username. Appreciate the super chat. Good deal. Can you break ranks to cover up a cough? You really want to, maybe. I mean, it depends on what's going on. Sure. Probably could. My run time for 2 miles is 20 minutes. Any advice on how to run more efficient? Just practice a lot. Do sprints to kind of build up your capacity. And I would say doing things that way. So you said you looked up Christopher Chaos Production Company. It's pretty creative. And it comes up with something? My old, the About section from my website, huh? Okay. Tricky. Tricky. But yeah, that was the first video, by the way. I forgot that I had it apparently in my About section for the ChristopherChaos.com website. All right. Pros and cons for married life. Off the top of my head, I don't know. I mean, some pros, you get paid more, right? And if you manage that properly, you can bank that extra money. If you're doing it, properly, right? You're not trying to blow all that money, then that can be helpful. If you go to the field longer, then that gives you a little bit of advantages, because then if you're gone in the field for more than 30 days, then you get paid for separation pay. Some of the cons, because you're getting paid extra for food, then sometimes you get stuck working through chow. I don't know. There's probably a few things here and there. Leaving at the end of the month for 31 Bravo. Based on your experience of the gas chamber, how bad do you think OC spray will be for me? I have never done OC spray. When you go through basic training, you don't do OC spray. It's CS. From people that I know that have done both OC spray and CS, they say OC spray is worse than CS. But I've only done CS. And CS sucks, yes, but it doesn't last that long, right? The time when you're like really being exposed to it, yeah, it sucks, and you're coughing like crazy, and it's difficult to breathe, and all that kind of stuff, right? But once you get out of the gas chamber, it wears off within a few minutes. You'll be, snot all over the place. Do you know much about PsyOps? Not a lot. I have a friend of mine who went through PsyOps training, got injured before he could go to the qualification course. He already made selection for PsyOps, but he got injured before he went to the Q course for his PsyOps thing, so he didn't end up getting to go to PsyOps. He got out of the Army as an 11 Bravo since he wasn't going PsyOps, and now currently he is doing PsyOps, but on the reserve side. He still has to go through the training. He hasn't done the training yet for PsyOps on the reserves just yet. I think he's supposed to do that this summer. So there's only very limited stuff that I know about PsyOps, but not enough. Maybe one day I should drag him on. He's been in some of my videos before. If you guys have ever seen videos that I've got with David, like for when I trained up for the baton, I did one or two live streams when we were in Texas together doing some stuff, where he was in those live streams and that kind of thing. So one day I should have him on the live stream and do some kind of stuff where you guys can ask him questions, because he's done some really cool stuff. He's never deployed. He always regrets that. But he has gone through SFAS. He has gone through Airborne. He was in an Airborne unit. He was in 11 Bravo. He's done PsyOps. So he's still done a lot of cool stuff. Tigers That Kill with another super chat. You rock, man. I appreciate that super chat. Since you are a vet, here you go. Well, thanks. I greatly appreciate that. You're awesome. Can I still get that hat? Hey, it wasn't guaranteed. I don't know. We'll have to think about it. Noah. I mean, that was definitely a good attempt in finding it, and you were able to find out the very first video through your research. So maybe I'll think about it. I don't know. It could be possible. How many Asians you meet in the Army? A lot, considering I was stationed in Korea. So probably quite a few. Worried about the fitness. I've never had a hardcore workout regimen in months and months. It takes practice, right? Get used to it. And then things work out a little bit better. Chris, I have a coin that says Fort Benning Commander's Coin of Excellence, but doesn't have his name or rank. Would it still win in a challenge game? I mean, I don't know. I guess it depends. Commander's coin? I guess it depends, right? It's kind of a tough thing because, there's no evidence as far as what the rank of the person was or what the name of the person was to kind of look it up and figure it out. So that'd be really tough. My highest one is... this guy right here. Chairman of the Joint Chief of Staff. It focuses on it. It may be kind of hard to see if it doesn't focus on it very well. That is the highest one I have, which is presented to me by Admiral Mike Mullins. So he was the equivalent of a 4-star general, I believe, in the Navy. Actually, I think in the Navy it's the same rank, so it's a 4-star general. Actually, that's why it has the 4 stars around chairman. Right? It's got chairman, and it's kind of maybe difficult to see if it doesn't focus on it, but there's 4 stars on there because he's a 4-star general. So he was the Joint Chief of Staff. So technically, as far as someone in the military, not like a civilian that's an advisor that used to be in the military or anything like that, like the president or certain other positions, this is the highest coin because military, currently in the military, this would be the highest level. There is higher level coins, like you get someone like the president's coin or somebody else, but as far as someone who is in the military, this is like the highest that it goes, is the Joint Chief of Staff. So that's my highest coin right there. I remember when you were in Texas, you went to a cool pizza parlor. Yeah, that's David's like go-to place, Peter Piper Pizza. We went to Peter Piper Pizza. So yeah, he's in that vlog video that I did. By the way, I'm thinking about going back to doing occasionally some vlogs on this channel. I want to try to branch out with other videos. I know that they won't do as well as some of my educational videos, and that's fine. I get it, but I do want to branch out a little bit, not take away from the current ones I do, but maybe just add to and do some other content. I do have like another review video that'll go up maybe in a few weeks, possibly. I have to wait because it's a brand new product that's not even launched yet. So I have to wait for the company to let me know when the product has already launched, and then I can make my review on their product public when they have the inventory to be able to actually sell the item. But that'll be a little bit outside of the box that I normally do. I have done some review videos in the past and they usually don't perform that well, but I do want to try to start doing other things more often. So I'll try to do some things like that. I might go back into doing some vlogs occasionally if I have something interesting to vlog about that's also relevant to my life as a veteran, not just some random crap, but try to keep it relevant to that. So I might still try to do some more vlog type of things. So we'll see. 3 miles in 8 minutes. Are you the Flash? Why someone say they ran 3 miles in 8 minutes? That would be super fast. Be able to do 3 miles in 8 minutes. I think maybe possible. And throw 3 miles. No, that'd be extremely fast. Because there was a guy that I knew that was like the fastest guy I've ever known in the Army, and he would do his 2 mile runs in like 9 minutes, something like that. Usually like 9 or 10 minutes, and that was fast as shit. 3 miles in 8 minutes. I don't know if you can. I can run 3 miles in 8 minutes. I would like to see that proof, bud, because I don't know about that. That'd be pretty fast. Because like I said, the fastest I've ever known someone to do a 2 mile in when I was in the Army was like 9 minutes for 2 miles. Those coins are surprisingly heavy. My coin thought they were like Pogs. Younger kids wouldn't know about those. Yeah, no, this one's got some good weight to it too. I don't know what it's made out of. Pretty good, solid metal, right? But it's got some good weight to it. Do you know about green to gold? Not a whole lot, right? If you qualify for it, they basically are letting you get out of the Army early to come back in the Army, because you're basically getting discharged from the Army to go to college on an Army scholarship, do your 4 years or however many years you need to complete your bachelor's degree, and then you're under contract to come back in the Army as an officer. So a little bit of stuff, not all of the ins and outs of the green to gold program. I've known some people that have done it, but I don't know a whole lot about it. Do you know much on the Cat 4 program? No, that's also another one I don't know a whole lot about. Usually that, from what I understand, that usually means you did not score high enough on the ASVAB to qualify for the Army, and now you have to try to get a waiver for them to waive your score, but I don't know much about that now. Did the math, and 3 miles in 8 minutes is about 10 meters a second. I mean, I'm not a very good meters kind of person, but it sounds fast. 3 miles in 8 minutes would be like Usain Bolt status the whole time. Yeah, I would imagine. Like I said, the fastest people I knew was like 9 minutes, 9 or 10 minutes for 2 miles. And that's fast. Part of your Army in Discord. Can we talk on that? I want that hat. I don't know. We'll think about it. I mean, that was a pretty good effort. Like I said, it was no guarantee that someone was going to win a hat for that, but possibility. I mean, I'd still have to kind of consider it. What are we at? We're just over an hour. So here's what I'm going to do. This is what I usually do for the end of the live streams. I go backwards in the chat for a little ways, see if I can find a question that maybe I missed, that I skipped over, right? Because I jump around in the questions often, right? See if I can find a really good question that maybe deserves to be addressed. Here's one that's not too far back in the questions. I'll probably still go farther back to find some a little bit farther back than this. But do you get free healthcare when you leave the Army? Depends. If you retire, yes, you still get TRICARE West. So you get a different version of TRICARE that you normally got in the Army. If you retired, if you did not retire, then that depends on your VA rating. If you got any kind of VA rating, then you can still get the VA's kind of like, it's not really like health insurance, but you can go to a VA hospital and get treatment either for free or for a really cheap price from the VA hospital. Usually your stuff that is service connected is usually free, and then things that are not related to your military career are usually just really cheap. In some cases still free too though, because I've had some things where I didn't have it connected to my time in the service, but I got treated at a VA hospital for it, and it didn't cost me anything. So it sometimes just depends, I think. I don't know how they kind of rate that. So that just depends. And then if you have higher rating, like even if you don't retire, but you have, I think, 100% rating on VA, then you still get free healthcare from the VA as well, from, I think, their TRICARE West kind of system. So it depends, but there are ways that you can still get that. Let's see. Going backwards in the chat, by the way. I'm trying to see if I can find a question that maybe is pretty good. Do you personally know any Green Berets? If so, what type of people are they? I've met quite a few. I wouldn't say I have any that are like friends of mine, right? But I've met quite a few. And they always seem really chill, really cool people. I was actually this last weekend over at a friend's house, and one of his neighbors is, I believe he said he was an 18 Delta, which is a Special Forces medical sergeant. And he was pretty cool. He was a cool dude. We were talking and chatting about stuff and some of the things he's doing and some of the things that he's going through with COVID-19 and not being able to do a lot of training because they just came off of a deployment, so they're not very high on the priorities for getting approved for certain training stuff. And so I was talking with him about some things, and I believe he was an 18 Delta, I think he said. So, but I don't know anybody, like I don't have any friends that are like Special Forces, but I've met quite a few, and they're all pretty chill, pretty cool guys. See, maybe one more. Let me see if I can find anything else as far as older questions that maybe I skip through. You go to AIT first or OCS after basic training? No, for you go to the OCS first. OCS is kind of like their version of basic training, so it's kind of all, I think, combined together, I believe. I'm not 100% sure on that, though. So I can't give you a really good answer, but I believe OCS is your basic training. I think. I'm not 100% sure on that, though, actually. Anything else? Chris, was your first video Mayhem Fest Adventure? It's a good video. That was not it, though. Was that on this channel? That was on this channel, though, wasn't that? That was a good video. I like some of the older videos. A Soldier Story from Iraq. Oh, that's it. We were talking about that one. So that one was it. But the Mayhem, some of the old vlogs are pretty cool. They don't have a lot of views on them. If you guys dig back in the archive of this channel, you can find a lot of good vlogs from my Army career and shortly after I got out of the Army and all that kind of stuff. So, everybody's saying goodnight. A lot of people saying goodnight. Okay, that's cool. One probably last and final question, or two, maybe before we end the vlog. Jay the Vorn says he's got to get out of here. Got to go feed a gator. 15 going to be working on it so I can join at 17. Good luck to you. Why so early? For what? For somebody going to bed? Well, Evie's on the East Coast, so it's 10:30 something, 10:39 over there on the East Coast. I think the amount of dogs you have is limited. Is somebody asking how many dogs you can have? Can you have puppies on post housing? Yeah, I think they do have a limit though of how many dogs you can have. They usually also have a limit as far as breeds as well. Carissa rocking it with the members emojis. By the way, if you guys ever wonder, how to get those like emojis and all that kind of stuff and those little rank icons next to your name, that comes from being a member. If you want to join and become an awesome member, there's a link down in the description. If you're on mobile, if you're on desktop, there's probably a join button. I think maybe Friday we might do a members only stream. because I try to reward members for supporting the channel by doing something special for them. So maybe on Friday we might do a members only gaming live stream or something like that. We'll see how things kind of go. Maybe one last question. What do we got? Maybe for one last question. Should I put in for airborne regardless of MOS? Yeah, I mean, it just depends on a lot of factors whether or not you get selected or not. Can't find any pictures from second tour. What do you mean? What pictures from second tour? Oh, from yours? Your photos? Pretty sure you probably don't have any of me, because nobody really wanted to pose for pictures with Sergeant or squad leader. Maybe they're intimidated. I don't know. I don't know what the deal is. Why were you so calm when under attack in Iraq? Well, for starters, the video is not real. I was goofing off, and it's all just a bunch of sound effects in the background. So I wasn't really under attack, by the way. Spoiler for you. Sorry. It was not real. MOS-based PT is a joke. Everyone should be held to the same standards. I don't think we really did PT differently from different MOSs, really. Like pretty much mostly the same. Can't find my old SD cards. You gotta get on it. You gotta keep track of that stuff. Is there anything for one last good question? Anything? We got anything big? Can the Army pay for cosmetic dermatology, Chris? I don't know. Usually, I think you can typically do like one free cosmetic surgery, I believe. I'm not sure on the whole part of that standards, because I know some women that were able to get like, breast implants, right, from the Army, because they were qualified to be able to get a cosmetic surgery done to do that. So it's possible, but I don't know all of the kind of main things of that. But maybe, I don't know. That sometimes just depends on different things. So, all right, guys, we're gonna end the stream here. We're a little over an hour and everything like that. If I did not get to your question, you missed it, whatever, hit me up on Instagram, or you can also hit me up at Discord. We have the Discord channel linked down in the description, right, to join the Chaos Army Discord. And you can hit me up. You can hit up other people in the community to talk and chat and make friends and ask questions and just have a good time, right? So you can go through there or Instagram, look me up, or you can go through the link down below, whatever the case is. Shoot me a question. I can answer your questions from there as well when I get a chance to, right? It may not be immediately. It may be within a day, maybe a couple days, within the week usually at least. And I'll try to, hit you back and give you guys some kind of answers and all that stuff. But hopefully you enjoyed hanging out and all that kind of stuff. We will be back maybe Friday for a stream, but like I said, it might be a members only stream. Anybody can probably watch, but members will probably be the only ones that'll be able to chat. But anybody will be able to probably join in on the stream just to watch, but it'll be a members only chat probably kind of a thing. But then other than that, probably be back on Monday for Modern Warfare Monday. We didn't do one this week because I had a lot of stuff I was doing with the weekend being so busy, and me working this week, during the day. I was going to be pretty busy with some stuff, so I needed to get some stuff done Monday, so I didn't end up doing a Modern Warfare this last Monday. But next Monday, as long as everything goes well, we'll probably be back to doing Modern Warfare Monday again. So thank you guys so much for hanging out. You guys rock. You guys are awesome. And I'll see you guys again real soon. See ya.